Alright, so welcome back, and the next step that I had in this build was to replace this light fixture, and you can see I did it in about 8 seconds. It was pretty impressive. And now that we have the light fixture changed out, it's a little more directional lighting, so the lighting isn't the best in these videos, so I apologize for that. Now we're back to the stand here, and I'm going to make the drink ledge or bar ledge, whatever you want to call it, all the way around the stand. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in about I think a 3-inch scab piece all the way around, 3 to each side, and those will extend the bar out from the stand. Now I'm putting on the perimeter pieces. We're going to be gluing a piece of plywood directly to this when we're skinning out the stand. So we want to make sure we have very nice and flat pieces. And you can see as I'm doing this, I pre-drill all of my holes. I don't want any part of this wood expanding or cracking or splitting. And just to show the strength of these pocket hole screws, I jumped up there and did a little stress test. Now I'm going to use some black paint and paint on the outside of the stand where I need the dark shadows, the black shadows in between the different panels to give it that recessed look. Now it will be recessed naturally, but I don't want white showing in the gaps there. I want it black, just like the tank wall that you see right behind it. Now this next part might be a little hard to follow because you're not going to see what it's actually for until at least the next video or maybe the video after that. But basically what I'm doing, in order to create some type of floating effect or the illusion that it's floating a little bit, I'm going to use an angled piece of wood and reflective material. I tried this with mirrors, experimented a little, and the mirrors always left a gap, a visible gap, the thickness of the glass. So I'm actually going to use tinfoil for it, and I'll show you how I do it by smoothing it out. It's not a very detailed reflective material, but close up it does reflect details very well, especially if you can get it very flat and even. The first thing I'm going to do here is cut all of the wood pieces that are going to be covered in the foil and make sure they're all snug and tight around the corners, and then we'll apply the tinfoil and secure the pieces. I've got all the wood pieces done and I'm ready to cover them with the tin foil. So I'm just going to use regular household tin foil. I'm going to spray some spray glue onto it and lay our piece down. And the trick is to use a J roller to get it nice and flat and rub out the wrinkles as much as possible. There shouldn't really be any, but on this piece in particular there was, so I went ahead and double coated all of them. Just another layer of spray glue and the foil again. It gives you a perfect nice sheen to it that will reflect up close, especially when light is directly on it. I'm just tearing off the edges now, the excess foil, and we'll start assembling all 4 pieces all the way around the perimeter of the tank. That's going to give us that illusion, or at least I hope will give the illusion. Like I said before, it doesn't make much sense now, but there's going to be a ledge above this that will have lighting mounted underneath all the way around it, so it's going to give it a good light that will reflect the wood that is directly below it. While I'm doing all 4 sides of the reflective material, I'm actually going to start skinning out the drink ledge at the same time. That way my measurements and everything, all the corners are meeting well, and just do it all together as I go around the 4 sides. The way I'm going to do this is using 1/2-inch high-grade maple plywood. It's got a beautiful veneer on it, and I'm going to use edge banding for the edges of it. It'll create a solid surface, or an appearing to be a solid surface. It irons on with just a regular household iron. It's all pre-glued, and we're just going to paint that black, those edges, so it'll give us the depth look that we want and the overall look that I'm going for. Okay, for the rest of this time lapse, I'm going to finish up the reflective sides and all of the drink ledge material, the top, sides, and the bottom. Since I don't want any nail holes for this top part where people's hands are going to be, where people's eyes are going to be able to see very well, so I'm just going to use wood glue and clamps. I'm going to clamp it all the way around each piece for this top ledge, and I'm going to keep a just a 1/2-inch gap all the way around. First, I'm going to rip up the old floors, and we're going to put in a new hardwood floor here for several reasons. One, it'll look nicer. Two, it'll form around the stand. We want the stand sitting on the foundation instead of the hardwood floor. And also, it's going to hide our electrical. In order to get electricity to the stand without it being visible, I'm going to piggyback off of this one outlet and move another line to the center of the room, and then come out down below the baseboard and run it into the stand. Then, since our wood floors are a ½ inch, I'll be able to cut a dado out or a channel through that plank and lay it perfectly over this line. And there's going to be plenty of playroom. It won't pinch, but we won't ever know it's there. Okay, I've got the stand where I want it. I've measured it to the walls and to the other tank. It's going to be there permanently. So now we're going to put the moisture barrier around it, and then the padding, and then we're going to use a ½ inch real wood bamboo floor that is it's made to be a floating floor. It interlocks, and the edges will be held down by the shoe molding. Here's the channel that I cut out for this plank to go over the electrical wire. Also, if you watch during this time lapse, you can see my current tank. You can see the automatic dimming, the cloud simulation going off throughout the entire build. Now I'm going to finish up with the baseboards on the stand and the corners. Now I'm going to finish hooking up the outlet that's going to run into the stand. I'm going to use a GFCI outlet, even though it's on a GFCI circuit, but it doesn't hurt. I'm going to mount it nice and flush to the top, as far away from the water as I can get, and no water will be able to get into the PVC conduit because it will be sealed up. For this last part of the video, I'm going to install all 4 door panels, and I'm going to use a ½ inch scab piece underneath to raise it up. All of them are going to be removable, so it's going to be really nice for maintenance. I'm just going to clamp it in place, and then we'll go to the back side. Now from the back side inside the sump, I'm going to place scab pieces on the bottom and one on each side. That way the door or the door panel aligns itself perfectly every time we go to put these in. And I'm going to do this on all 4 sides. And while I've still got the clamps in place and I've got the door exactly where it's going to be every time, I'm going to install the magnetic catches. There's going to be 4 total. These will hold it nice and tight to help prevent any warping, if any will occur. But this is a high grade plywood, it shouldn't, and we're going to have that same moisture barrier painted on the back of this as well. And finally, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to put all 4 panels on and get the completed bottom portion of the stand.